The Giant's Challenge. The dojo was silent except for the rhythmic sound of Bruce Lee's footsteps as he demonstrated a Jeet Kune Do sequence to his students. The afternoon light filtered through the high windows, illuminating the sweat on the faces of the practitioners, all attentive to the master's words. Combat is not about strength, but about fluidity, like water, adapting to its container, he said, moving with the precision of a feline. It was then that the door opened with a bang. An immense man, with broad shoulders and almost 2 meters tall, entered like a storm. His arms were as thick as logs, and his inflated chest seemed to defy the very air around him. The students instinctively backed away, but Bruce just raised an eyebrow, without stopping the movement. "Are you that Bruce Lee?" growled the giant, his deep voice echoing off the walls. "I heard it's fast. Let's see if it's strong too." Bruce stopped, crossed his arms and smiled. It wasn't a smile of provocation, but of curiosity, as if that moment had already been written somewhere. "Strength is not measured in size, my friend," he replied, calmly. "But if you want to test it, why not?" The giant wasted no time. With a roar, he charged forward, fists raised like hammers. Bruce barely moved, just tilted his body slightly to the side as the punch passed inches from his face. Before the man could react, Bruce was behind him, a precise side kick landing on the back of his opponent's knee. The giant staggered, but did not fall. He spun around, furious, and tried to grab Bruce with his huge hands. It was a mistake. Bruce slipped between his arms like a shadow, and in an almost imperceptible movement, delivered a sharp blow to the man's solar plexus. The air escaped the giant's lungs in a muffled groan. He still tried to recover, but Bruce was already on the move again. A roundhouse kick struck his temple, not with brute force, but with the precision of a scalpel. The giant's eyes rolled back, and he collapsed to the mat like a felled tree. Silence. Bruce looked at the clock on the wall. 9 seconds. Exactly. The students could hardly believe it. Some approached in disbelief as Bruce helped the giant to his feet, holding him by the arm. "Strength is useful, but without technique, it's just dead weight," he said, without arrogance. "Learn to move, not just hit." The giant, still stunned, nodded. There was respect in his eyes now. I didn't expect that." Bruce smiled again, this time with a hint of humility. "No one ever waits." And so, the lesson continued. The weight of the lesson. The dojo was silent for a few moments, only the sound of the giant's heavy breathing breaking the stillness. Bruce wiped the sweat from his forehead with the back of his hand, his muscles still tense, but his face serene. He knew this moment wasn't just about victory, it was about change. "Brute force is like a hammer, it breaks what it touches, but it doesn't build anything," he said, as he helped the student to sit on the mat. "The true art is in knowing when to strike, how to parry, and, above all, when to retreat." The giant, whose name was Victor, rubbed his temple where the kick had hit him. There was no anger in his eyes, just a new, almost childlike curiosity. "How did you do that?" "I'm twice your size." Bruce sat down next to him, crossing his legs. "Because I didn't fight you. I fought you. Your every move was predictable, you rely too much on strength, so I used that against you. When you moved forward, I was already where you didn't expect." Victor frowned, processing the words. "But what if I had hit you?" "You wouldn't have," Bruce replied, without arrogance. "Because I didn't let you. And that's what you need to learn, it's not about avoiding being hit, it's about making the other person make mistakes before they even try." One of the younger students, a skinny boy named Ren, raised his hand shyly. "Master, does this apply to everything? Not just fighting?" Bruce looked at him, dark eyes shining with something beyond simple martial wisdom. "It goes for life. You can be the strongest, the fastest, the smartest, but if you don't know when to use each of these things, you'll lose to someone who does." The challenge outside the dojo. The following weeks were transformative. Victor, once an untamed bull, began training with a discipline that surprised everyone. He was still strong, but now his strength had purpose. Bruce watched him from afar, satisfied, but he knew that the real test was yet to come. It was on a cold night, when the dojo was already empty, that the door opened with a bang. 3 men entered, dressed in black, their faces covered by masks. One of them, the tallest, carried a rusty chain wrapped around his wrist. "Bruce Lee?" asked the leader, his voice distorted by a cruel smile. Bruce didn't get up. He just tilted his head, as if waiting for them. "It depends. Who asks?" The man laughed, a dry, humorless sound. "Someone who doesn't like teachers who teach students to defend themselves too much." Victor, who was arranging equipment in the corner, stopped. His muscles tensed, but Bruce raised a hand, signaling him to stay where he was. "So you came here to teach me a lesson?" Bruce asked, getting up slowly. "No. We came to remind you that some lessons should not be taught." The first man advanced, the chain whistling through the air. Bruce dodged with a fluid movement, as if dancing, and the blow grazed his shoulder. Before the attacker could recover, a precise kick hit him in the knee, causing him to scream and fall. The other 2 hesitated. Bruce didn't seem worried. "You have 2 options, leave now and never come back, or learn why you shouldn't mess with people you don't know." The second man attacked, trying to grab him. Bruce spun around, using the attacker's own momentum against him, and threw him against the wall. The third, seeing his companions on the ground, took out a knife. Victor couldn't contain himself. With a roar, he charged forward, taking the man down before the blade got anywhere near Bruce. The knife flew away, and the attacker was immobilized with a crash. Bruce sighed, looking at the chaos. "I said stay still." "They were going to kill you," Victor replied, panting. "They wouldn't," Bruce replied, calmly. "Because I had already seen the end before they even began." The men, now bound by their own chains, groaned on the floor. Bruce picked up the phone and dialed the police. As they waited, he turned to Victor. "You reacted on instinct. That's good. But next time, react with your head, not just your heart." Victor looked down, embarrassed. "Sorry. I just..." "Don't apologize for protecting someone you respect," Bruce interrupted. "But remember, a true fighter is not the one who wins every battle, but the one who chooses which battles are worth fighting." The last lesson. The following days were of reflection. The dojo gained fame, not just for Bruce's technique, but for the philosophy he taught. New students arrived, some driven by curiosity, others by the need to defend themselves in a world that seemed increasingly violent. But Bruce knew his time there was coming to an end. In the last class, he gathered everyone on the mat. There were no demonstrations of force, no fights. Just words. "You came here to learn how to fight. But I hope you learned something else, that true strength is not in muscles, nor in techniques, but in the ability to adapt. The world will try to bring you down, hurt you, make you doubt. Don't fight it. Use it. Grow from it." He looked at each of them, as if committing their faces to memory. The fight doesn't end when you leave here. It continues, every day, in different ways. And when it comes, and it will come, remember, it's not about winning. It's about not letting yourself be broken. Silence. Then, one by one, the students bowed. Not in reverence for a master, but in gratitude for a lesson they would carry forever. Bruce smiled, returning the bow. And, without another word, he left the dojo for the last time.